Welcome to EP Daily. Today on the show, we take a look at the new Netflix series Sense8 in the rundown.
Plus, Vic heads to Gotham for a new look at Batman: Arkham Knight.
And then we take a look at the time travel movie Project Almanac just in time for its Blu-ray release.
A second.
Like right now?
Also coming up, we prepare you for the release of Insidious 3 with a look back at the original movie. I take you on a Rush rally and much more today on EP Daily. Brought to you by EB Games. I'm your host, Victor Lucas, bringing you the latest in everything cool every single day. Now, I sent probe droids throughout the galaxy to find the rebels, and it turns out they were hiding in the rundown all along. Let's get them. More than 1 billion people can head to a galaxy far, far away for the first time ever. All 6 live-action Star Wars films will be screened at the Shanghai International Film Festival next month, making this the first time the films will be shown legally in Chinese theaters. Yes, Chinese audiences have been missing out on 3 of the best movies ever made and 3 of the not-so-good movies ever made. Hopefully the prequels won't throw them off. Foreign films, including Star Wars, were banned by the Chinese Communist government for many decades. Those restrictions have been eased in recent years, although most films are still forced to make significant cuts to please the Chinese censors. It remains to be seen if they'll force any cuts on Star Wars. Disney hopes to create millions of new Chinese Star Wars fans just in time for the release of The Force Awakens, which will hit China and the rest of the world this December. Netflix is teaming up with the Matrix creators Andy and Lana Wachowski for a new series that's called Sense8 and tells the story of 8 strangers from all over the world whose minds become linked, allowing them to share each other's secrets, skills, and abilities. Like the previous efforts from the Wachowskis, the show will combine science fiction and action with plenty of mind-bending philosophical concepts and ideas. All 12 episodes of Sense8 will be available to stream on Netflix starting June 5th. You can watch 8 exclusive character trailers for the show by heading to epn.tv. Talking about multi-billion-dollar properties with my multi-billion-dollar property friend, Scott C. Jones. Now, what do you think about this? The Wachowskis making television programming with Netflix. Netflix is doing a deal with everybody. Have they done a deal with you?
My deal is still pending right now. I can't really talk about it. But you know what? Netflix has a lot of money. They've had a lot of success over the last couple of years. And now they've got all that money and they're trying to figure out what to do with it. And so they're making new shows like this one. They're giving the Wachowskis some money.
Which looks like a little bit from every part of their wheelhouse. You've got a little Bound in there, you've got a little Matrix in there, a little Jupiter Ascending in there.
I feel like the Wachowskis have kind of been out to pasture trying to figure out the future. Jupiter Ascending, that was the movie I think we saw with Channing Tatum with the eyeliner on and the skates.
Movie. Yes.
No, it wasn't crazy, it was terrible.
Here's the thing, there's room to breathe with some of these television productions out there, you know, and if Netflix is giving these guys the money and the time to let us get to know these characters, and it's about 8 interconnected characters. It's a great concept. It looks pretty cool.
I will watch it.
Yes.
And I will hopefully find things to like about it.
We will review it.
I'm looking forward to that. We'll review it, yes. You
right
heard it
here
first.
on EP Daily. Yeah. All right, let's talk about Star Wars entering into a country for the very first time. And don't you have envy for the Chinese people that are going to see this for the very first time?
It's like getting into a time machine and going back to 1977.
Yes.
You know, obviously a lot of people in China have probably already seen Star Wars, but now you're going to get the official release of Star Wars, which is going to be a big resurgence in Star Wars popularity, a huge population there. I mean, when a movie is released, everyone thinks in terms of how can we market this to China. I mean, that's exactly what the producers think when they make an Avengers movie or an Iron Man movie. Yeah, always. That's the first thought now.
Yeah, and you have to deal with all of the censorship issues that you know, the Chinese government has around some of this stuff. There are lots of big money deals, but clearly this is a move on Disney's part, not just to monetize the 6 existing films, but to get people ready for the merchandising behemoth of the new StarArs movies that are headed our way.
The prequels will come out over there too?
Yeah, they're doing all 6. They're putting all of so hopefully that it doesn't bum people out too much. Wouldn't that be something?
Maybe they can make them better.
Yeah, maybe it will be interesting to see.
Who shot first, Greedo or Han?
Han.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Just test it.
There's only one answer to that. All right, but right now it's time to talk about another multi-billion-dollar property. We're talking about Batman. Arkham Knight is almost here, and I got to talk about it with Dax Jin. Jack Skinn looks surprisingly well rested for a man that's producing one of the biggest games of 2015. We're talking about Batman Arkham Knight, which is imminent. It's almost here. People are playing it behind us. What are they playing behind us? What are the people here that are in this very exclusive club? What are we tasting right now?
Well, firstly, let me say thank you for saying I look good, because you should see me from this side. I look terrible. We've got some hands-on with Batman Arkham Knight, really focusing on the aspect of the game that we haven't been talking too much about since announcement. We've been getting into Scarecrow and the Arkham Knight, the vast and varied military forces under the control of the Arkham Knight, and the capabilities of the Batmobile to confront those forces. But it's the United Rogues Gallery that I think a lot of people have been curious about. How does that all work? Because in Arkham City, with the chaos brought by Joker, there wasn't any opportunity for those supervillains to work together. Under the plan of Scarecrow and Batman Arkham Knight, this is really a unified Rogues Gallery, all these supervillains teaming up to take down Batman. So we're getting into some of those missions and giving people a taste of what it's like going toe-to-toe with Penguin or Riddler or any number of these other classic supervillains.
You guys knew it was in development the whole way along, but it's new to us because you just revealed it through trailers and stuff, is this dual play mechanic. So it feels like an army against armies a bit, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's what we always imagined for this final epic conclusion to the Rocksteady trilogy, was armies coming together. And even though Batman's a very isolated, very solo operator, he does lean into his friends, whether it's Oracle or whether it's Nightwing or Robin or Lucius Fox or Alfred, Commissioner Gordon even. So not just building that sense of alliance through narrative, but also taking it further and building it into gameplay was something we were really excited about. And watching it come together as an integration into the free-flow combat system, I just think it works so beautifully.
One of the most wonderful things about Arkham Asylum was the containment of the experience. It really felt like the gameplay was really measured to, you know, the environment and where you could go and what you could do. When you play that sort of after this or as you're developing this, does it just feel quaint now? Does it feel like this tiny little shoebox that you're in?
Not being able to glide feels really strange.
Yeah.
You know, I go back, everyone on the team goes back to play Arkham Asylum a lot because it feels just so claustrophobic and so intense.
Yeah.
And it's a really lovely feeling, I think, being trapped in that environment. To try and communicate that sense of intensity in an open world game is really difficult, but I think we achieve it through a lot of narrative components where Batman feels under pressure all the time from every angle.
Yeah.
And so that sense of intensity, I think, does come across in this game. But definitely, since Arkham City, being able to grapple and glide across the skyline, and now in Arkham Knight, it's just insane. The altitude that you can hit ejecting out of the Batmobile. It's weird how underpowered Batman feels in Arkham Asylum by comparison. But that's always been the plan. You know, his journey across the 3 games has been a journey of empowerment. So it kind of makes sense in that respect.
Now, this was a game that was supposed to come out on the 75th anniversary of Batman in 2014 there, and of course it's been famously delayed a couple of times, I think. Tell us about what happens when a game of this size gets pushed back a little bit. What kinds of things did you guys add?
A lot of it is polish, a lot of it is making sure we're delivering that quality that I think gamers and Batman fans expect from us as a studio. Also the size of the game itself. I mean, building out the entirety of Gotham City, it's 25 times bigger than the game we built in Arkham Asylum, so ensuring all of that complexity all makes sense from a narrative and a gameplay perspective and delivering that level of polish. It was really just coming down to, look, what do we want to be giving gamers at the end of the day? And that really is a game that I think Batman fans deserve, and it's that highly polished, epic conclusion. And if we couldn't deliver it, we just needed more time. And so that was really the core of the conversation. And I think where we've ended up right now, 36 days from launch, we're so happy with the level of quality that the game has. And I think gamers are going to understand why we needed to take a bit of extra time to deliver that level of quality.
Arkham Knight comes out on June 23rd, buddy. Look at this face.
Yes, it does. Well, we got to take a break right now, but when we come back, we're going to take a look back at a movie that freaked the both of us out.
Oh, so you were freaked out too?
Nope, not really. It was mostly you.
Come on.
EP's mobile coverage is brought to you by Gameloft, makers of Dungeon Hunter 5, which you can play for free on iOS and Android right now. There are quite a few good top-down racers on the iOS platform, but if you're looking for something that's a little bit more simulation-like, you should check out Rush Rally. 3, 2, 1, go! Which
kind of evokes the old Colin McRae rally or Rally Sport Challenge, some classic old rally type of off-road experience type games out there, except it's from an overhead perspective, so the world and the geometry doesn't have to be that sophisticated. I think, though, you'll be quite impressed by the labor of love and the quality of the dust kicking off of the tires and the trees with snow all over them. And also, they've got a couple of different modes here. You've got the World Rally kind of championship kind of mode where you're racing against time and just trying to deal with the environment. And you've also got the rallycross kind of challenges in there. There's leaderboard support and there's ability to connect with friends and sort of challenge each other that way. This is a solid title. It's not very expensive at all, and I think that it was made by just a small team with a lot of love and a lot of hope that people would notice it and pay attention and start playing this sucker, and I suggest that you do. I'm giving Rush Rally an 8.5 out of 10.
Seriously cool game there. Now, as promised, it's time to fire up the old EP time machine. Insidious Chapter 3 comes out next week, but before you see that, let's take a look back at our review of the original Insidious and check out how freaked out Scott was.
We just came from a movie. This is a horror movie. Now, when I was younger, I used to think the only thing that could really scare me is mortgage payments, getting old, prostate exams,
Taxes.
those things
These
were
are your
scary.
favorite topics right now.
But Insidious, this is from the guys that made Saw, the original Saw.
James Wan and Lee Wannell.
That's
and
right.
They have made a hell of a movie here. This is so much fun, Insidious.
This movie stars Patrick Wilson and Rose Byrne as a husband and wife with 2 little kids. Well, 3 little kids. They got a baby. So they move into a new house, and the first night there, Rose Byrne puts some books on a shelf. She goes in the other room, comes back, those books are on the ground, and I think this ghost hates books.
That's right.
But
lots of ghosts do.
And we're making fun of this movie. I mean, I was at the start of this movie.
It looked like a little Paranormal Activity at the beginning.
It starts off with this very over-the-top, cheesy, long credit sequence with Bernard Herrmann-esque kind of music, like all the strings, and it's like, I'm just like, what is this BS?
It's a very loud movie right from the beginning. Babies are screaming and crying, and I think this was all very intelligently, purposefully done to get you on edge.
The whole time I'm thinking, I'm not going to buy into this. I've seen Poltergeist. I've seen The Exorcist. I know how this BS works at this point, but you know what?
This is a lot like Poltergeist, this movie.
It absolutely is. It's kind of like the heir apparent to Poltergeist.
Totally, and I think what sells it for me was just the caliber of the performances all around. I loved Patrick Wilson and Rose Byrne together.
I like Patrick Wilson. He looks like he smells good.
They are very competent actors with very good chemistry together. There's a naturalism there.
You believe them right away,
absolutely.
and you forget that
Patrick
they're
Wilson's going to bed and he's putting on his night cream.
Yeah, what is it? I gotta get some of that.
I just thought it was just so real to begin with, you know, and it was by characters and actors that you could invest in. The writing is bang on.
I mean, right now, if you're interested and you think you might be interested in this movie, you probably should stop watching this review.
Yeah, you really just gotta go see it. But
just go see it.
Lynn Shay, I think is her name. She plays the character Elise.
Yeah, she plays the character of the old woman from Poltergeist, the little short one.
Yeah, and she has an idea of what's happening, and she wants to help out the family. And God, she is so fantastic in the movie. She's so grounded in reality, and you think there's got to be people like this out there who can connect to this other world.
It's not the house that's haunted. It's your son.
She looks so believable.
Let me tell you something. I've been watching horror movies all my life, I'm 20 now.
Yeah, we're
so
just late 20s.
My mom wouldn't let me. You know, one shocking thing that you might not know about this movie's PG-13. There's not a drop of blood in this movie.
No.
And I couldn't believe that because
it's
you know what?
freaking terrifying.
If I was the kid and I saw this is what I live for.
We saw it at 10 o'clock in the morning as well, and everybody around us is jolting and freaking and laughing at him.
Other people were jumping too.
All of us were. Our coffee is just...
He's laughing at me the whole time. But there was one sequence that starts with Rose Byrne and Patrick Wilson in bed, and they hear a knock at the door downstairs. That is one of the scariest sequences I've ever seen in my life. That's really where I almost left the theater. I was like, Vic, I can't take this.
No.
This is familiar territory, but it twists it and finds new material. It mines this old material for new thrills and new scares and it's exciting. I love this.
And you care, man. That's the difference, right?
James Wan is a genius. He knows what he's doing. This is a masterpiece.
Very impressive. Insidious is a must-see. Almost perfect.
9.5 for me.
I'm giving it a 9. Amazing movie.
Thanks for embarrassing me yet again, Victor Lucas. Hey, I like scary movies. I like being scared. It's okay to be scared. At least that's what I keep telling myself. Now listen, Project Almanac is coming to Blu-ray, and we review it after the break.
Before the world ends, I want to dance the night away. It's pretty dumb, actually.
Hey, I wrote that one.
In this edition of Buried Treasure, Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End.
Never thought to see your face back aboard the Pearl.
The Ode to Eurocom, a company that produced a ton of cool 2D and then 3D action-adventure games. You're playing as a pirate in one of the coolest kind of pirate set pieces you could imagine, and I was really impressed. A very, very cool-looking game.
I'll turn you inside out.
The character models looked awesome. The sound-alike voice actors for the title actually sounded very much like the actors from the film.
Desperate men will go to desperate lengths.
Very well-crafted worlds. There was some great environmental effects.
Blood of course.
You do some adventuring and climbing up on different things. You have to collect a whole bunch of stuff, as you do in probably every single Eurocom game that they made. I thought it was very well handled. Right now, it gets a Buried Treasure recommendation from me.
All right, now it's movie time. The time-traveling teenager movie Project Almanac is heading to Blu-ray very soon. Here's a look at our review.
There's this footage of me at my 7th birthday. I mean, I was at my 7th birthday.
We were all at your 7th birthday.
No, I know. Here, just, you don't understand. Just watch this.
Dude, is it? That can't be.
That's me.
Project Almanac is a science fiction time-traveling tale for the young adult crowd. What did you think, my friend?
I didn't know what this was about going into. And I remember seeing some previews for this, trailers, I guess you call them out there. And they were intriguing, and I was glad we were sitting down to see this movie.
Yeah.
And I had a lot more fun than I expected to have.
Yeah, there's a Chronicle kind of quality about this movie, and I think Chronicle was a very pleasant surprise, and it's propelled Josh Trank to have a career that we hope doesn't end with Fantastic Four. But this movie actually is a little bit more enjoyable than you would assume it would be. It's another one of these found footage type of adventures, but it's not a horror movie. What we see are a bunch of very smart, very charming kids in high school all sort of figure out that they've solved a father's blueprints for a time travel machine, and then they have some fun with it. The science is kind of bunk, but the fun that they have with the science is kind of fun to watch.
Love time travel.
Me too.
I rewatch Looper all the time, and I hope at some point we live in a future where we can actually travel through time.
Let's step in.
Wait, like right now?
All right, you guys ready for this?
It is kind of fun. You get caught up in the romanticization of time travel.
Yep.
They're able to go back to different times. They make this pact at the very beginning. They have to travel together always, but then one of the group violates that. It leads to some problems. And basically, the movie is solid for me.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe how much I was liking it until about the last third. And it goes from a strong science fiction movie to a young adult movie. And that's not for me.
Yeah, and you know, I think that was partly in the cards. They want to have that romance. I mean, none of the cast is unattractive, and they're all really great together. They have charisma together, but it does fritter away on
fritter. That's the right word.
On sort of traditional plots that we've seen in a million movies before, and then without that extra heavy emphasis on science that you can really get behind, it becomes a little innocuous, the whole sort of experience.
Before the world ends, I have to fall in love.
But there is some real effervescence and some real joy in this movie, and I have to give credit to the lead, Johnny Weston, who plays the main brainiac in this sucker. He is great in this film. He's a really solid actor.
He reminds me of Zach Gilford from Friday Night Lights, who played Matt Saracen.
Right,
very similar faces, very similar disposition, and I just kept kind of hoping they'd go into their time machine one time and just fly into Looper.
Yeah.
And that's where this movie would go, and we never quite did that.
They reference things like Looper in this movie, too. There's an awareness that's fun.
I want to see if this works. Have you guys ever seen the movie Looper?
No.
God, I love that movie.
What are we doing here? Mr.
Man, this really surprised me. I really did have a good time, and it does get a little schmaltzy and cheeseball, but it mostly overcomes that for me. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. How about you?
Why aren't you more angry at the end? You should be.
I'm not.
This gets a 5.5 out of 10. Project Almanac gets pressed onto Blu-ray disc on June 9th. And listen, up next, a viewer asks us a very personal question, and Vic and I answer it after the break.
If you want more EP, go to our website, epn.tv, for bonus content and full episodes. We're also on Facebook and Twitter.
Welcome back to EP Daily. It is time now for the best part of every show. That's the Twitter question of the day. Woo. Today's question comes from Nathan Fegan. He is at FeganHC. Are you collecting amiibos? And if so, how many do you have? Am I saying that correctly?
I think Reggie likes to say amiibo is the plural.
Amoebi is what I say.
Okay. Yes, I'm collecting amiibo. I have many, many, many of them. I might have hundreds of them. I think that they're actually quite wonderful because we always want to physicalize. Well, I have always wanted to physicalize all these awesome Nintendo characters. Like have little physicalize. I wanted little physical recreations of it.
Listen,
I like figures.
Which one is the one you like the most?
Well, I love.
Don't think. Just say
I love Samus Aran. I love Metroid, but you got me an awesome Little Mac from Punch-Out, which I also
paid
really love.
$4,000.
I know you did.
And listen, which one do you like the least? Don't think, just say it.
I like them all. Right. I've only gotten the ones that I like. Remember, you can get caught up on all kinds of EP goodness by heading to our website, epn.tv.
We're already working on some new EP stories, including a review of the film Survivor. Thanks for watching, everybody.
We'll see you tomorrow. EP would like to thank its sponsors, Nintendo, Xbox.
Mila Jovovich actually is a survivor. She survives an attack, and then she survives a bunch of attacks because Pierce Brosnan is this relentless hit person that is chasing after Mila Jovovich, who plays this visa expert who allows people entry into the United States. So she is working at the London U.S. Embassy, and she's a badass visa boss.